Welcome into Texans today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on the program today, Texans versus Vikings instant post-game reaction. Texans just played their Week 1 preseason matchup. I'll tell you my top 5 takeaways from this preseason matchup. I know a lot of people are going to say, Jeremy, it's the preseason. Like, what are we even doing here? Well, this is going to indicate a lot of the guys who make the roster on the back end. The final guys who make the 53-man roster will be determined in these preseason games. So that's why we got to keep a close eye out on how our Texans are doing. And if you watched our live watch party, I appreciate everybody who tuned in for these Texans. They didn't pull out the win 20-10. We'll break down everything you need to know, but some of the top stat getters you can see at the bottom of the screen. Caden Slovis had a decent day, 11 for 15, 71 yards. Agumba Wale had a nice couple drives, 5 carries, 29 yards. Mechie, 5 receptions for 45 yards. And on the opposing side, Sam Howell had a good day himself, 11 for 13, 105 yards. Xavier Scott, 7 carries, 40 yards. And Jordan Addison, who will not be playing in the first couple games of the year due to suspension, had an okay first drive, 3 receptions for 33 yards. And as I mentioned, make sure you hit that subscribe button to be a part of all of our future watch parties. We're going live for every single Texans game this year. So if you want to be part of the most interactive, the best community here on YouTube, if you're a Houston Texans fan, well, you're in the right spot. All you got to do, go down and hit that subscribe button for free Texans content all year long. We got you covered with the best Texans channel here on YouTube. And just from watching this game, first off, I do have to say I am so glad we finally get to see some Texans football. I know it's in a very limited capacity, and we're seeing a lot of guys who probably won't end up making the roster, but just seeing the Texans out there, DeMeco, Nick Caley, the new offense, it was fun. I had a good time watching this game, and I hope y'all did too. Even though the Texans, they only put up a touchdown on the first drive, and past that, the offense was kind of basura. It was fun. The defense, I thought, played better than the offense in terms of backups are concerned, but also our offense in the second half was kind of hindered by Texans rookie, who we'll get to later on in the program. If we're looking at the stats, not so pretty. The Texans on offense, 194 yards, 3.7 yards per play. But as I mentioned, the second half was basically all third string, fourth string guys, passing 22 of 34 for 129 yards, rushing 17 carries, 65 yards, 3 turnovers. Those 3 turnovers were huge for this Texans team, and that kind of stunted our second half and any chance that this team had in putting up any points in that second half. For the Vikings, their offense looked a little bit better than the Texans, their second stringers. 261 yards, 4.1 yards per play. Passing was 21 of 32 for 175. Rushing 30 carries, 86 yards. 1 turnover on a fumble, and time of possession, they led a little bit. All right, so let's get into my main takeaways from Minnesota up against the Minnesota Vikings. First, Davis Money Mills. He only played 1 drive for the Texans. The lone touchdown that the Texans scored was with Davis Mills at the helm. And I do have to say, I really think he could be one of the better backups in the NFL, if not the best backup in the NFL. And as I mentioned, only 1 drive, 4 of 5, 50 yards, that 1 touchdown. Yet, the 1 miss he had could have easily been a touchdown to Cade Stover, but he made up for it. And I think he was able to run the offense very smoothly. He's somebody who is a good glue guy. He's somebody you love to have in the locker room because he understands his role. He knows, okay, I'm the backup quarterback, and I think he does everything in his power to get C.J. Stroud, the other guys, ready in the locker room. And it's nice at least knowing that you have a good option to back up C.J. Stroud. God forbid anything happened to him throughout the season. I would trust Mills to play 2 or 3 games for this Texans team and be halfway decent. Maybe not be a, all-star caliber player, a, guy who's going to make a ton of plays for you, but I trust that he'll be able to work within the offense and kind of ride the, be the, bus driver of this Texans offense if need be. I think he's one of the best backups in the NFL right now. Do you think Mills is the best backup in the NFL, the best backup quarterback? Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comment section. I know everybody's freaking out about Tanner McKee down in Philadelphia, or I guess up in Philadelphia. I would rather have Davis Mills than Tanner McKee at this point. If you're talking about having somebody for, needing him for a game or 2 during the regular season, I think McKee is still a big unknown. We haven't seen him really go up against, starting caliber players. He's played a lot against second, third string guys. He's throwing balls to UDFAs. I think Mills, I'd give him a little bit of the edge. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. Next up, my takeaways from Minnesota. I mentioned Davis Mills in that first drive. The starters played well on both sides of the football. The first drive, Minnesota had the ball. They were kind of driving a little bit, but the Texans made them stall out, forced them to kick a field goal, and then Houston on their first drive went down and was able to score a touchdown. And during that first drive, I'll say this Texans offense was kind of clicking. The running game was working very well. Dare Gumbawale, he only played, I believe, the first 2 drives of the game, but had a really good yards per carry average in this game. The first drive, you were getting 5-6 yards a carry with a Gumbawale, and the offense was clicking. You know, there was maybe the right side of the offensive line had a little bit of work to do, but I was really impressed with Ariante Ursery at left tackle. If he has to start at left tackle, call me crazy, but I'm pretty comfortable with the rookie from Minnesota stepping in and protecting C.J. Stroud's blind side. I think going up against Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter has really helped the young rookie evolve and, get his game to the level where it needs to be. I think, as I mentioned, the starters on defense, which I don't even know if you can say that on the defensive side of the football because so many guys were out. They played pretty decently as well, even though, Jalen Smith made a couple plays with the first team unit that was out there. I think the defensive line was looking pretty good with that first unit out there as well, getting some pressures on J.J. McCarthy. Solomon Byrd was also playing pretty well, a starter for the Texans for this game being concerned. I think the Texans, their first units, they look good. The backups, second, third stringers, that's where we got into a little bit of a trouble, but that's the preseason for you, Like I mentioned, a lot of those guys, they're not going to end up making the final 53-man roster. And to judge anything based on the second half of this game, you can't really do that because that's just for film. That's just for the coaches to look at certain guys and say, hey, are these guys doing what they're supposed to, and are these guys playing within our system how we think will help this team? That's what you got to watch for, and I think the starters showed that. The backups, not so much. We'll get into more takeaways here in just a moment, but if you need a brand new Texans jersey, I got you covered with our friends over at Fanatics. Go to chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. This link will send you right there. A ton of deals over on the website. This link in the comment section and description of today's show. Chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. You can get C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, Jalen Petrie. If you use this link, a bunch of deals as well. So go to chatsports.com/Texans jerseys. The hookup for any Texans jersey you need this offseason. All right, next up, my takeaways from Minnesota. I think all the linebackers at every single unit, first string, second string, third string of today's game, they look good. I thought the linebackers looked good. E.J. Speed was running around like a man with his hair caught on fire. And even though the top, I would say maybe 3 guys didn't play in this game, and Azeez Al-Shire, Henry Toto, Christian Harris, all inactives, I thought E.J. Speed looked good. Jake Hansen, Nick Neiman had some good plays. Jamal Hill, who's kind of buried on the depth chart that I have right here, he did really well as well. So I think you got to look at the linebackers and really say, hey, they played really well today for the Houston Texans. And you probably wouldn't expect anything else from a DeMeco Ryans-led squad. I mean, he's a former NFL linebacker himself. So the fact that the Texans linebackers look really good, I think you might have one of the best, linebacker whisperers in the NFL in DeMeco Ryans. So not really a surprise that they played well, but just want to give a shout out to the linebacking unit for this Texans team. Going along with that, the backup offensive line, it was rough. It was rough out there. And I mentioned before, Blake Fisher, he did not look good in the first quarter whatsoever. He was playing into the second quarter, but he had a rough go at it. As I mentioned, Ursery looked good. He only played, I think, the first, maybe second drive of the game, and then he was out. Titus Howard did not play. Cam Robinson did not play. Laken Tomlinson did not play. Jake Andrews, I think on that first drive, he was the starting center. He was looking good as well. Juice Scruggs did okay, but a lot of the backups struggled. Zach Thomas being another one because, I think it was concerning during training camp seeing that Zach Thomas was getting, second team reps over Blake Fisher every now and then. But after seeing how Zach Thomas played up against Minnesota, that's even more troubling for a guy like Blake Fisher. If this guy's getting snaps over you, I don't know what the deal is because Zach Thomas did not look good. Austin Decklis, Ladarius Henderson, Jalen Thomas, the second, third string offensive line in today's game, they were getting bullied a little bit by the Minnesota Vikings. Let me know, though. We talked about Blake Fisher. First quarter, it was just not good. He had a penalty. He had multiple times where the edge rusher easily got by him. Am I being crazy? Is Blake Fisher in danger of being cut/traded? Give me a true, give me a false. Do you think the statement is true that he's in danger of being cut or traded? Or am I pushing the panic button way too early? Do you think it's false? Let me know down in the comment section your thoughts. I know it's a pretty hot topic around Texans Twitter right now in terms of Blake Fisher and his play. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And my last takeaway from this Texans versus Vikings preseason matchup is that special teams will tell us a lot. And what do I mean by that? Braxton Berrios played really well. But you also saw he got a lot of work in kick return, punt return. I think when you look at wide receiver, when you look at defensive back, and hell, even look at the fullback spot with British Brooks, Jakob Johnson, I don't care what they put in their unofficial depth chart. Those two guys are fullbacks. They use them in fullback capacities. British Brooks maybe in a more running back, fullback blend. But they were using Jakob Johnson as the fullback. And a lot of these guys, I think, we'll see whether or not they make the roster based on their ability to help out in special teams. I think Tremon Smith is a good, representative of that. He played pretty decently as a backup corner, but he also helps you out a ton in special teams. I think that could help him secure a roster spot. Same with a guy like a Braxton Berrios. Even though Mechie played well, really didn't see him a ton in special teams. And if you're looking at wide receiver 6, maybe even wide receiver 7, you got to help out in some capacity in special teams if you want to make the roster on the back end. So make sure in the next preseason game, in preseason week 2, preseason week 3, we're watching the special teams to see who's out there, who's performing, and who could maybe slip in and make this final 53-man roster for your Houston Texans. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Make sure you hit me up on social media, on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs, IG at Texans Today CS, and on TikTok at Jeremy Chuggs. We had a couple people win some prizes in our live show, and the only way to claim them is if you're following me on social media, and I can contact you to get your shipping address. So make sure you hit me up on social media, either on X, IG, or on TikTok.